Welcome to a Spiritual World podcast, a space where we explore the vastness within and around us, a place to remember that you are a spiritual world within a spiritual world, the mind within the mind of the all. Here, we journey beyond programming, past the pain, and into the true essence of our sovereignty. My name is Toria, and my sole mission is for you to find the guru within and remember yourself as the creatrix of your world, embodying the power within you to build a life you love. As always, you're encouraged to go back to episode 1 for the full disclaimers on the terminology of mystic psychology. I am not a medical professional, and nothing shared in this podcast is intended to replace professional medical or mental health care. The term mystic psychology is not used in a clinical or medical context and has no connection to the medical field or industry. It is a spiritual and energetic framework rooted in the ancient wisdom and sciences of Hermeticism, intended to support self-exploration and inner awakening. If you are seeking medical advice, diagnoses, or treatment, please consult a licensed medical or mental health professional. Everything shared here is based on my own personal lived experiences and energetic perspectives, offered in the spirit of empowerment and remembrance. Please take what you need and leave the rest. I am honored to walk beside you as a channel, a guide, and a fellow traveler as we continue on this path together. Welcome back to a Spiritual World podcast. I'm your vessel, Toria, and today we are embarking on a profound journey, tracing two ancient rivers of wisdom that, despite arising on opposite ends of the world, flow directly into the same ocean of truth. From the mist-shrouded peaks of ancient China, we have the Tao Te Ching, a text so deep it insists it cannot be named. And from the fusion of Egyptian mystery and Greek philosophy in the sands of Alexandria, we of course have our famous and infamous Hermetic Principles, a map of the cosmos itself. One uses the language of nature and flow, and the other, the language of mind and law. As we'll discover, they are not separate roads. They are mirrors reflecting a single universal order that we are all a part of. Today, we explore how the way of the Tao and the all of Hermeticism guide us toward the same state of conscious, harmonious living. So what is the Tao? The Tao is most often translated as the way. Imagine trying to describe the river to the fish that swims within it. There's a speech titled "This is Water," infamously given by David Wallace, and it is a profound and great listen to understanding this concept more in depth. You can find it on YouTube or just the transcript itself on Google as well. So the Tao is the water, the current, the riverbed, and the quantum field that gives rise to it all. It is the fundamental, ineffable process of existence itself. It is how we are here. So where does it come from? The Tao Te Ching points to a mystery. It says that the Tao emanates from something even more primordial and unnameable, often translated as the mother of all things or simply the void. This is not an empty nothingness. It's a fertile, limitless potentiality. It's the womb of reality before the first vibration, before the distinction of yin and yang. It is the uncarved block, the state of pure being before the universe itself was carved into 10,000 things. So it is the nothing in the everything. The Tao isn't something that began at a point in time. It is the eternal, ever-present process of emergence from that primordial source. It is the breath of the unnameable, the great exhale that becomes the cosmos, and the inhale to which it all returns. Sometimes I really try to figure out, like, who am I? You know what I mean? Like, who am I? And I just get nothing, right? Like, because I am everything. And that for me is a really, really fluid representation of what the Tao is, right? Like, when I can't pinpoint myself to being just one thing, like, yes, I know that I'm, in a human, in a body, and that, I'm made of stars, and that, as a woman, give birth to Earth and in different universes, and I'm a creatrix, all of these different things, right? But at the end of the day, I consistently search to know who I am, and I always feel like I fall short because it is unnameable, because it is so expansive beyond my comprehension. And to take it even further, the sage, Lao Tzu, opens the Tao Te Ching with a warning. Kind of scary, right? No, not really, so no worries. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao, right? Kind of like what I just tried to formulate into words. It's not a thing to be grasped. It's a reality to be aligned with. And I will preface very briefly that I got rid of the rug that was in the room that I'm recording in. So now my chair will roll, or if I get uncomfortable. So you might hear some background noise. Excuse me. I'm also, weather change, shift, all the fun with the allergies. This brings us to the core practice, Wu Wei, which is WUWEI, often mistranslated as non-action. Wu Wei is the art of effortless action, right? It's that, what I imagine to be the deepest form of surrender and acceptance all in one, that just allows the flow to take over and move through you so infinitely that you manifest and create and move through whatever it may be, trauma, shadow work, light work, whatever it is, so minimally, but also so magnificently at the same time. It's the action of nature itself, right? The way a vine finds its way up a trellis without any force, or how those sunflowers or trees find their way up the poles of stop signs and other places that you would never find, you'd never think that they would grow, right? Because that's always really cool to see. Or how water, by being soft and yielding, eventually wears down the hardest of stone. It is action that is so in tune with the moment that it leaves no trace of struggle. And governing this flow is the dynamic balance of yin and yang. This isn't a static symbol, it's a cosmic dance. In our reality, the yin and yang is represented as the circle with the wave, and it's, white and black on one side with a dot of black in the white and a dot of white in the black, which is a really good 3D representation or even 2D symbolism of, how we can perceive it. But yin and yang, the way that I truly view it, is all of those parts mixing together and there not being any separation, but knowing that there are those parts, right? Like, that's what I am moving towards as a being, as a spiritual being, is, left side's feminine, right side's masculine, right? Like, no. Like, eventually I want all sides of me to be masculine and feminine, and there not to be a difference between the two. I want them to be so intertwined, dancing with each other in such fluidity, whether it's the tango or the mambo or whatever it may be, but them being the one that they ultimately are, and the duality ceasing into non-duality. So it's that cosmic dance, right? Yin is the receptive, the dark, the cool, the feminine. Yang is the active, the light, the warm, the masculine. Crucially, each contains the seed of the other. The darkest night holds the promise of the dawn, and the brightest day casts the deepest shadows. Taoism teaches us to find harmony not by eliminating one side, by honoring the sacred rhythm between them. So, now we're going to jump into a refresher of what is Hermeticism, right? And maybe this is your first episode in this series that you're listening to, and you kind of need to tune into what it is. So, journeying to the Hellenistic world, where the legendary figure of Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice greatest, and Thoth emerged, blending the practical magic of Egypt with the philosophical rigor of Greece. The core of this wisdom is captured in the Kybalion, which outlines 7 Hermetic principles and is a great place to start for anybody that is called to Hermetics. And the Kybalion can be extremely dense. It can also be extremely light, depending on where you are in your flow, right? In your Tao. And it's definitely something that you come back to again and again and again, unlocking more each time. It's kind of like gene keys, right? Like Richard Rudd puts that at the beginning of the book. This is conscious integration that will take time, and if you feel like you can't get it, it's okay. It will sink in over time, which is 100% accurate on anything that we're doing in this journey. And a lot of these bigger teachings, we have to absorb in nuggets, right? So we're going to give Hermeticism a little bit more flesh and blood. So we're going to go over these wonderful 7 Hermetic principles. The first one is the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental. This isn't just about positive thinking. It means the fundamental substance of reality is consciousness. It's all thinking. The cosmos is a living, thinking entity. And number 2, the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. This is the master key. The patterns in the cosmos, the macrocosm, are mirrored in our own minds and lives, the microcosm. To understand yourself is to understand the universe. And we're going to do an episode down the road. I've already started prompting it and writing it. I've got notes in my notes, like where can I take this? So real quick, just to say that, we talk about being that we are the microcosm, but we are also a macrocosm to a microcosm within us. And so it doesn't just stop there's one macrocosm and there's one microcosm. No, it completely echoes out over and over and over and over again, infinitely, right? And so we're going to hack that in a future episode. I've got season 3 already strumming up and I'm so excited for it. So to understand yourself is to understand the universe. And that's what, a spiritual world podcast is all about is yes, universe. Yes, you are a spiritual world in yourself, inside the universe, right? And the universe is its own spiritual world as well, right? It's all this reflection. Again, the macro and the micro infinitely echoing itself. And so number 3 is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. From the whirl of electrons to the spin of all the galaxies, all of it is in motion at all times. And I say that, but that also creates this reality where they're not at the same time, right? As soon as you create one, the parallel of it exists. So our thoughts and emotions are simply vibrations of a specific frequency. Number 4, principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Just touched on that. One thing is created and a parallel to it is automatically created. Everything has poles and everything has its pair of opposites, like yin and yang. Opposites are identical in nature, differing only in degree. All of it is that, full circle, same side or 2 sides of the same coin. Heat and cold are the same thing, just varying intensities of thermal energy, right? My perfect temperature point is 72. Other people's, very, very different. The principle of rhythm is number 5, the number of change. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall, expand and contract. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. Our moods, the seasons, the cycles of civilization. And I love the expand and contract because it really makes me think of Terrence Howard and the work that he is doing with everything consciously. And so if you haven't checked out his work yet, I would absolutely encourage you to do so. And yes, it is the same Terrence Howard that is a movie star, but this is his true calling. There's absolutely no doubt about it. So number 6 is the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Chance is merely a name for law that has not been recognized. There are no true accidents, only chains of causation we cannot see. And number 7, the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. This is the creative principle, the dance between the projective masculine and the receptive feminine that exists in all things. And the etymology of gender is generational. We are generational ancestral beings of masculine and feminine together. The ultimate goal here with these principles is the great work. The alchemical process of transmuting our base, right? All that lead, all that stuff that weighs us down, chaotic consciousness into a refined golden awareness that is in perfect harmony with the divine source, the all, as it is so called. Sounds a lot like the Tao, right? So the parallels between the Tao and Hermeticism, we'll call it the heart of the matter. So we take the unnameable source, which is Tao and Mentalism. The Tao is the void from which all things spring, the mystery that thought cannot capture, that cannot be stunted, that is ever expanding. And Hermeticism begins with Mentalism, the all is mind. Both traditions point to a fundamental intelligent reality that is prior to form, prior to 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D, and so on. We cannot define it with words. We can know it through direct experience. And that direct experience can absolutely leave us wordless and can be brought to us through stillness and introspection. The Tao is the ultimate suchness. The all is the ultimate consciousness. They are two words for the same ineffable source. And next, we have the art of flow, which is the Wu Wei and vibration. Wu Wei is the practice of getting your personal will out of the way, so the universal will can then flow through you. It's like learning to swim with the current, not against it. We all know how much easier it is when we're at the beach, that if the wave is behind us pushing us in and we're just, hands forward and just riding that wave in, how much easier it is to just flow. Hermeticism, through that principle of vibration, gives us the mechanics behind the Wu Wei. Everything is energy in motion. When we are in a state of struggle, anxiety, or force, we are emitting a low chaotic frequency, right? Emotion, energy in motion. Our emotions direct vibration and Wu Wei. That's why surrender and acceptance can be so important. And I'm in these phases again too. It's just a constant cycle of like, okay, what do I need to surrender now? What do I need, to move into acceptance to allow this to flow through? So it's coming up because it's very personal for me at this point in time. And so, if that doesn't resonate, that's okay. It just means that you're in a different stage. And, I'm actually getting ready to move into other stages because it's a continuous cycle, right? Spiral upwards and out. So when we are in a state of struggle, anxiety, or force, again, emitting a low chaotic frequency. However, when we practice Wu Wei, we attune ourselves to a higher, more harmonious and beautiful frequency. We stop pushing at life and we start conducting it as the symphony that it is. So, moving on to yin and yang and polarity, the dance of the opposites. To me, and probably to many, this is the most stunning and practical of parallels. Taoism gives us the beautiful flowing symbol of yin and yang. Hermeticism gives us the intellectual tool of polarity. Both reveal that opposites are not enemies. They are partners, one in the same in a dance of grace, beauty, humility, humbleness, integrity, authenticity, all of the things that we want to embody. Think of your own life. Grief and joy. They seem like opposites. And the depth of your grief often mirrors your capacity for joy, which is in direct correlation with Hermetic vibration, right? We've discussed this in previous episodes. However, they are also 2 points on the same spectrum of feeling. And here's the key. This isn't just a philosophical idea. It's the very roadmap for the Hermetic journey of inner alchemy. When you're experiencing the same circumstances or the same experiences on repeat, there is a reason. They can be years apart. There is a reason. In layman's terms, the Hermetic path, as taught in traditions like the Golden Dawn, requires you to consciously choose to journey into the depths of your own shadow. And consciously choose does not mean egoically choose, right? Like, I had no idea what I was doing for a very, very long time. However, consciousness knew. So what some might call a personal hell, right? Dark night of the soul, trauma, addiction, eating, just everything, right? All of it. You don't run from the negative pole. You journey into it to understand its nature and to reclaim the power trapped within it. There's a shaman that I work with and have been working with for quite some time. And he always reminds me that whatever it is that I'm facing is going to be turned into power. And I don't get that power without going through those experiences and obtaining that knowledge to be turned into understanding, right? And I believe understanding for me at this point in time is non-duality. And that then catapults it into wisdom. Chokmah, right? Like Bina and Keter. Those 3. So, the alchemical process is right there for us to claim and see. But alchemy is not something of the modern day theology, right? It's not something that we discuss. It's all about religions and dogmas and superficiality and whatever else. Well, my friends, we're at the turn of the century, at the most pivotal point in coming from the age of the masculine and going into the age of the feminine, where the feminine is igniting what magic is, right? And so by fully experiencing the vibration of the lower end of the spectrum, trauma, grief, scarcity, fear, disorders, dis-ease, you perform the great work of transmuting it. And the age of the masculine, we have laid those foundations, right? We have laid such thick foundations of grief, scarcity, fear, manipulation, all of those things. And now it is the time of the feminine to come in and take that foundation and transmute all of it so we can see her power, see her ability to create, and how they can work together. This act raises your overall vibration, which then allows you to experience the contrasting, higher end of that same spectrum: joy, abundance, and love, with an equal and opposite intensity. So grief doesn't just mirror joy. It is the very crucible in which profound joy is forged, right? Like flowers growing in piles of cow shit. You know, there's other references like mushrooms, right? Like, or whatever else. I know that when it rains on cow pastures, it can wash up the most amazing arrowhead artifacts and other pieces of history. So many ways that what we look at as something that we don't want, producing something that is most profound and beautiful. So look at yourself that way, right? You are not broken, you are becoming. And now we have a pathway forward. Now we have an understanding that it is achievable. We don't have to stay broken any longer. We have answers and we have actions that we can put to put one foot in front of the other and find our way for ourselves and for humanity. A powerful anecdote for this is the biological fact that, again, I love mentioning this because I don't think I could beat it into anybody's head enough, let alone my own. The pain and the pleasure, and I'm still trying to hack it. That's really what it comes down to. I'm trying to still, I have this knowledge of this, but I'm still unraveling the understanding behind it to bridge me into the wisdom of it. The pain and the pleasure receptors in the brain are one and the same. They are the exact same. It's the same foundational platform, the same nerve ending, interpreting different intensities of stimulus. This is a perfect metaphor for our entire emotional and spiritual existence. If pain and pleasure are two interpretations by the same receptor, then so are grief and joy, scarcity and abundance, lack and wealth. They are not different things. They are different experiences of the same essential energy. So if you have laid in the miseries of scarcity and grief and pain, you have the capacities for abundance and joy and pleasure. The secret to mastering this principle, as both traditions teach, is not to resist one pole. It's to learn to transcend the pair by finding the still point, which is the Tao, the neutral center between them. Right? The Buddhists call this the middle way. It is from this still point that you can observe the dance of polarity without being thrown by it, and ultimately learn to direct your own journey across the spectrum with conscious intent. Gosh, that dance of opposites is beautiful, isn't it? It really helps anchor your parts closer together and recognizing each other as partners and not enemies to be feared. So let's move on to the natural order and the cosmic law, right? Still talking about the Tao and Hermeticism. However, we're narrowing this parallel down into simplicity and cause and effect. Taoist wisdom constantly warns against overcomplication. And I don't know about you, but I really, really think that there's a reason that in the 12 steps they say keep it simple. And their actual terminology is keep it simple, stupid, and that's fair, especially for early people in recovery, right? That refer to themselves in those types of ways. And honestly, to be able to comedically laugh at it and find the humor in it. But the keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. That's what we want to focus on, right? Because we're all learning. There's nobody that's stupid. I guess that's not true. I don't know. I'm not going to hack that one right now, guys. You figure that one out on your own for yourself. Anyways, so warns against overcomplication, warns against artificiality, and warns against forcing, right? Trying to fix, manage, and control. The sage prefers simplicity, humility, and spontaneity. Wonder why that is? It's because it aligns with the natural way. And Hermeticism explains why this works through the immutable principle of cause and effect. If you plant the cause of forcing and striving, you will reap the effect of burnout and resistance. If you plant the cause of allowing and trusting the flow, you will reap the effect of synchronicity and effortless manifestation. And yet, this is the complete opposite of how many of our societal paradigms are engineered. Right, guys? Our systems often incentivize and even glorify burnout. They praise overtime. They normalize chronic stress and equating busyness with self-worth. We are conditioned to believe that forcing our way through exhaustion is the only path to success. This right here is where the wisdom of these traditions becomes a radical act of rebellion. There are peaceful ways to rebel, and this is one of them. This is one of the ones that revolutionizes consciousness. It revolutionizes every micro and macrocosm in existence when you do this. To choose the Tao, to live by Hermetic law, is to start a peaceful pivot away from that collective chaos. The journey isn't ever without its turbulence. We do know this. However, the chaos we must face is often internal, not external. The battles we fight to overcome are our own conditioning and deep-seated pain. This is a critical point. The alchemical work of this pivot is inward. It does not target others as the problem. We see so much pain in the world that is born from unprocessed inner turmoil being projected outward. Attacks, blame, violence that are ultimately a cry of a soul at war with itself. And I know because I've been there. On every level, I've been there. The path of conscious flow is very different. It requires us to take full responsibility for our inner state, to sit in the fire of our own grief, fear, and shadow without turning that fire against the world, and also learning how to stop turning that fire against ourselves in self-punishing and self-deprecating ways. It's about transmuting the lead of our pain into the gold of our awareness within our own being, and then we become the reflection of light that is needed in the world. As we do this, our rising vibration naturally reflects outwards, not as an attack, instead as just a presence that no longer participates in the cycles of blame and force. We become a quiet, steady counter rhythm to the frantic pace of the world, proving that alignment is the most powerful and sustainable way to move through it. Gosh, that really is my way. That is the way that I have traveled, the way that means everything to me and what I embody regularly. For years, and I mean years, I blamed all the circumstances around me. And I had what some would say a right to. That's really what allowed me to stay in it for 20 years. Because anybody that heard my story understood it. Some of them co-signed my bullshit. A lot of them did. Adults, even when I was a teenager, the school system, right? Like everything that I had been through was, oh, it's completely understandable why she's like this. You know what I mean? Instead of having the emotional knowledge or the ability to be like, to say you don't have to internalize this. And you don't have to try to punish everybody else. You don't have to blame and victimize yourself, right? Like that's what we're finally learning. It wasn't there when I was younger, but it is here now. And that's all that matters. It's here for the future generations, and we're anchoring it in. You are anchoring it in. And I am so proud of you. And I say that to myself, right? I said, we're anchoring this in. So this next thought is, I am so proud of myself because I'm part of that. And you should be so proud of you as well. I'm really playing with that context of, do we tell other people how proud we are of them because of that external validation that so many people seek? Instead of, I want it to be that you are so proud of yourself. And sometimes we need others to be proud of us, to get us to that point where we feel proud of ourselves, to where we understand that it's normal, that it's should be a requirement, right? Like a requirement for us to be proud of ourselves, to understand how to embody that. So, moving on to what we've titled integrity and reflection, which is the day, which is TE, and correspondence. So it's like the Tao Te Ching, it's the day of the Tao Te Ching, and correspondence of Hermeticism. So we're going to go deeper into this idea of integrity. In Taoism, the day is often translated as virtue. However, to some, this might be misleading. It's not a virtuousness you perform to be a good person according to social rules. It's not a dogma, it's not commandments, and I'm not taking anything away from the commandments, because the commandments are definitely, we're going to run a parallel episode on that maybe next. Actually, it's definitely coming up. So I shouldn't say the commandments in general, I should just say the dogma, right? Think of the day instead, and you can think of the commandments in this way as well, but we're going to hack those later on. So I really kind of want to put that out of our brains at this point. We're just going to kind of circle back and bring it back to the Tao and correspondence, and thinking of it as authentic power. Day is the unimpeded expression of the Tao through an individual being like yourself. It's what happens when a person is so clear, so aligned, that their actions become as spontaneous, appropriate, and effective as a river carving a canyon. It's the integrity of a bamboo stalk, hollow, flexible, yet unshakably rooted. This isn't a morality imposed from the outside, right? So we're bringing dogma into it. It's a coherence that radiates from the inside out, right? That micro to the macro. A person with day doesn't need to try to be good. They simply are a conduit for the natural order. This is where Hermeticism's principle of correspondence, that as above, so below, becomes the perfect mirror. This principle tells us that macrocosm and micro reflect each other. The grand harmony above in the cosmic realm and the flawless, effortless flow of the Tao is meant to be replicated below in the realm of your personal life. So, how do you know if you're in correspondence? You look for the evidence of the day. When you align your inner world, when your thoughts are clear, your heart is open, and your will is surrendered to the flow, your outer world cannot help to do anything other than begin to mirror that harmony. Challenges don't disappear. However, you meet them with the resilience of water, not the brittleness of stone. Interactions become graceful, not forced. Opportunities, they just find you. This isn't magical thinking or hopeful thinking. It's the natural effect of cause and effect. The internal cause, alignment, produces the external effect, a life that flows. Your day then is the living proof. It's the tangible grace, the power, and effortless effectiveness that emanates from you when your inner being truly corresponds with the cosmic above. It is the evidence that you are not just reading about the Tao or the principles. It's the evidence that you have become a vessel for them. Now, we are going to anchor in our favorite benevolent frequency, the mantis. We're going to anchor in and look at it through their lens and how they perceive or how they want us to understand their connection to the Tao Te Ching and Hermetics as a trinity. If we're to look at the architecture of this flow, we would find it written in the language of the mantis beings, which is sacred geometry. The Tao, in its unmanifested state, would be what we call the Vesica Pisces, the primordial field of potential from which all form emerges. It is the womb of existence. And from this womb, the first act of creation is the emanation of polarity, perfectly captured by the yin-yang symbol itself, a dynamic, flowing representation of two opposing yet complementary forces held within the single circle of the Tao and the All. And as this energy moves from potential into form, it follows the Hermetic Principles along the sacred spiral of the golden ratio. This is the logarithmic spiral seen in a nautilus shell, a hurricane, a galaxy, the visible pattern of as above, so below. It is the universe's way of building complexity through simple, self-similar patterns, expanding and contracting in a perfect flowing rhythm, right? And if we maybe start to think of, we always talk about the spiral, right? So if we start looking at our own spirals as the spirals of the galaxy, right? Like how we depict it, where it's the eye and then the spiral coming out, and there's all these different layers, like that is us, right? We are a spiritual world within a spiritual world. We're not just, I mean, we can be the one spiral, yes, but it really helps to look at it in a larger perspective because we have so many things on our journey to move through. That helps me, that at least helps me with a visual representation of, because my mind can really, really try to, again, overcomplicate things. One spiral, one journey, right? No, that spiral is expansive and wide, and we've already talked about it kind of expanding and contracting as like kind of a slinky in a previous episode, but this one gives us another visual representation of it where it's like the galaxy symbolization. And then, of course, the golden ratio found within that. Your own journey is this spiral, right? You are not moving in a circle. You are ascending a spiral, cycling through similar lessons at a higher vibration each and every time. And where we were before was, maybe decreasing in vibration each and every time to understand Hermetic vibration and alchemy in a Hermetic journey, guided by the immutable laws written into the very fabric of space and time. So how do we live all this, right? How do we turn this into a living practice? Taoism gives us the visceral metaphor. Be like water. And Hermeticism gives us the conscious methodology. Change your vibration, change your reality. Let's be clear though. To be like water is not to be weak. It is to be adaptably powerful. A stream is soft and yielding, finding its way through the smallest of cracks. Yet, over millennia, it could have very potentially carved the Grand Canyon. The ocean is serene and calming. Yet in a storm, its waves possess the force to reshape coastlines and overcome entire cities. Water is both soft and hard because its true nature is persistent and, at the same time, aligned with gravity. It always moves toward its purpose by the path of least resistance. This is the essence of trust. Trust the water. Trust the flow. It will rise to meet challenges with you and recede to give you rest the more that you sink into it. You need not be afraid of becoming a pushover or being taken advantage of, or falling into old patterns. For when you are in this state, you are not operating from a fragile personal will that can be broken. You are operating from the will of the water itself, the universal will. This will always protects your essential being, not necessarily by making you invincible, by making you resilient, adaptable, and ultimately unstoppable in your true direction, your true north. Hermeticism provides the how when it comes to this trust. Change your vibration, change your reality. When you feel yourself hardening into resistance, when fear makes you rigid, that is the moment to consciously shift your inner frequency. You do this through breath, through releasing the need to control, through choosing a thought of allowance over a thought of force. You aren't just waiting for life to happen. You are actively participating in the flow by aligning your personal vibration with the universal current. This is where these paths fuse into a powerful daily practice. It's active surrender. It's understanding the cosmic laws of Hermeticism and then learning to float in them, which is Taoism. It means when you face an obstacle, you don't beat your head against it or beat yourself up for it. You pause, entering into yin, and assess the situation with a calm mind, using mentalism, and find a new, fluid way around it by practicing Wu Wei. You are not a leaf tossed into the current. You are the water itself, conscious of its own power and path, while also simultaneously being the leaf and going with the flow. And as we bring this episode, lost my words there, to a close, the Mantis frequency do have a simple transmission for us. Beloved ones, the rivers of wisdom never compete. They flow together into the ocean of unity. When you study Tao or Hermetics, remember, you are not just learning concepts, you are learning the grammar of the universe. You are learning to read the sacred text of reality itself, written in the geometry of a shell and the rhythm of your own breath. Feel the current beneath the words. Step into it. Let it carry you. Let it reshape you. In stillness, you will hear it. In flow, you will become it. And as always, we thank the Mantis frequency and all other benevolent beings assisting us at this time. And I invite you to become a sacred scientist in your own life, observing through both lenses and perceiving how your soul guides you. Where is the Tao inviting you to flow like water? Where are you forcing a river instead of floating down it? And where can you apply those amazing Hermetic principles? Can you feel the rhythm in your day and lean into it? Can you spot polarity in a conflict and find the neutral point? Notice how every breath is a cycle of yin and yang. Notice how every thought is a cause, setting an effect into motion. For the Tao and Hermetics are not separate paths. They are one truth, spoken in the twin tongues of the heart and the mind, all to guide us back home into conscious, vibrant harmony with the all. And what's really interesting, as I was reading the spoken in the twin tongues, I had the image of a snake that has two tongues coming up and bringing this knowledge. So I want to thank you for sharing this time with me. And until next time, may your way be flowing and your mind be ever aligned. Stay tuned. This season is not over yet. We still have quite a few to hack. Namaste. And many, many blessings on your way.